All right, it is another Tuesday morning. You know what that means. It is time for Breakfast with Bill. And last week was such a smashing success with our guest star, Matt Rodgers, that we decided to bring him back. Boys, how are we doing this morning?
Hey, good morning, Evan. Thanks for being with us, Matt. Thanks for being back. Everybody said in the past that we needed to spruce this thing up and get somebody a little more attractive than me. So Matt was the closest guy, and we went upstairs and found him.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So thanks for being back. And this is one of those mornings where Matt and I, when we both sat down at the table, we heard each other's stomachs growling. And this would be one of those times we really wish we had breakfast here with Bill, so pancakes would be well. But thanks for being back, everybody. If you were with us last week, you know that we talked a little bit about prospecting and the importance of prospecting in these times. We were able to share some stories with you about prospecting experiences we had in the past. And we had some feedback that said we'd like to go a little deeper with that and continue some of those tracks. So we're going to do that today. And we're going to spend some time talking about messaging. And, Matt, you want to review some of the things we went through last week?
Absolutely. As I look at my notes, I really think you can break down prospecting into 4 different segments. You know, to start with, it's the mindset. We talked about the mindset of being intentional last week, immediate gratification versus long-term happiness. We have to commit to it day in and day out. Daily prospecting doesn't necessarily mean equal, but really having that mental toughness to block everything else out, usually stuff that isn't as big of a priority as prospecting, and doing it daily.
If I could interrupt on that, I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of ours who's in the insurance business, and he shared with me how people get out of that business for one of 2 reasons. He said they either lose the courage to make phone calls or they lose the courage to ask for referrals. He said, and that's the only reason you get out of this business. And I thought, wow, a lot of clarity there. So,
absolutely. And I think as well, the mindset, the fear of rejection. I don't really know anybody that loves the prospect. There are some people that are more open to it. I think those individuals that really have that end goal in mind and know that you have to get those small daily wins to get to the quota. But not having that fear of rejection and keeping in mind what's the purpose of prospecting? What's the mindset? It's to move the ball forward. It's to get some more information. It's to get a meeting. And if we go into prospecting thinking, wow, I made 10 calls and I didn't get 9 appointments, we're going into it all wrong. So that's really the mindset. Then we talked about the commitment. As I said, daily prospecting, we're a very big fan, especially now as you think about we're in the 4th quarter, and it can't be a light switch, right? What we do today never really affects today in sales. It's going to affect tomorrow, next month, next quarter. And a lot of us may have had tough years this year. So if anything, we urge you not to fool yourself that we're going to run out the clock of Q4, reset in Q1, and turn it on. It doesn't work like that. If nothing else, build your pipeline now. We talked about scheduling it, respecting it. There are people.
and by scheduling it, you mean putting it on your calendar.
Time block. Yep, absolutely.
So we actually put those on the calendar and treat that time as though we're at client time, right? Because we wouldn't just blow off a meeting with a client. If that's on our calendar, we show up for it. And that's the beauty of putting time on your calendar to prospect. You have to treat it like it is something special.
And I've seen people go as far as put something on their door, close their door in a prospecting time block. Think about what that does for the office and the importance that you respect prospecting so much, everything else can wait.
Right.
And oftentimes when we coach people and we ask, what got in the way of prospecting? At the beginning of the conversation, it seems really important. And, well, we had this fire, the client called us, it was one of our bigger. And by the end of it, their own explanation without us saying anything, they're saying, yeah, that was an excuse. I should have probably picked up the phone. And then finally, in commitment, we really believe in a diversified approach. We didn't touch on it, but voicemails and emails going out 2 by 2. You can talk about that in a second. Handwritten notes, drop-ins for industries where that's acceptable, even in these times. Sending out marketings with a handwritten note. diversified approaches are always better. So 2 by 2.
Well, we believe in voicemails and emails being kissing cousins, and they never leave each other. So voicemails, when we make a phone call, if we have to leave a voicemail, which we're going to do most of the time, that's okay. Don't look at the voicemail as a loss. A voicemail is that personal branding statement. So we have an opportunity to make a great impression on somebody by leaving a great voicemail, conveying some confidence in what we do, and then letting them know we're going to follow up with an email for you. That might be easier for you to reply to. And then you actually go and do it. Remember, trust is when our words and actions are consistent over time. So if I tell somebody in a voicemail, I'm going to send you an email because I think that'll be easier for you to reply to, and I send that email, I did what I said I was going to do, words and actions, I'm building trust before I ever meet this prospect. So remember, that's an opportunity for us. Don't always be discouraged with the voicemail. It's an opportunity for us to start to build trust. It's an opportunity for us to plant a personal branding message. And, Matt, last time we talked so much about the phone and drop-ins and some of this direct prospecting, we didn't touch on networking. And networking is huge, and especially in these times. Now, these times everybody says, I can't network because I can't go to, the Business Times book a list party, or I can't. You can't, but you can have honest conversations with people. And that's all networking is. So putting ourselves in a position to have great conversations, and when we meet new people, by way of review, you may have heard this from us in the past, but by way of review, when we meet new people, people always say, how do I turn that conversation into a business conversation? And our approach is very simple. It's consistent with everything else we do. Starting with the foundation of sales is something we do for somebody versus to somebody. We start with the foundation of when we meet somebody saying, hey, Matt, tell me about your business. Matt's going to tell me about his business. And I'm going to say, so, hey, Matt, what's a great customer look like for you? Mm-hmm. And he's going to tell me a little bit about that. And then I would add, Matt, what should I be listening for that makes me think of you? When I meet somebody, what should I be listening for that makes me think of you? And when we ask those 3 questions from a position of true curiosity, right, when we really want to learn about something, we really want to help the other, guess what usually happens in that conversation? After Matt shares with me a little bit about his business, after he tells me what a great client or customer looks like for him, after he shares with me that unique value prop, what I should be listening for that makes me think of Matt, guess what Matt's going to probably ask me?
What does a good client look like to you, Bill?
Yep, right. I have an opportunity to start telling Matt, and most people will ask me those questions back and say something about, tell me about your business and tell me about good clients. And it's great. And if they don't worry about it. People always say, well, what if I never get a chance to tell them? Do you think if he doesn't have enough curiosity to ask me about my business after I just asked him about his, do you think he's a referral source for me? I mean, do you really think he's a potential referral source that I somehow lost out on by showing kindness and curiosity and inquiring about his business? Sleeves out of our vest, right? That's the sleeves out of our vest. We lost nothing with that one.
So Bill, real quick, you talked about actual networking, but let's just step back because I don't know if we touched on it much. Given COVID, the pandemic, a lot of people are asking, is it a good time to prospect? Is it the right time to prospect? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. Never been a better time. I think that people are looking for connectedness now more than ever, right? That's been a theme of every conversation we've had here together or with our clients. People are dying for connectedness right now. And I think we're finding people being more open to prospecting calls, more open to networking than ever before. I just participated in a virtual networking session last month with a colleague of ours, Mary Richter from Schneider Downs. And Mary's a very successful shareholder at Schneider Downs, and she's recently launched a exit planning service, an exit planning business that helps their clients get ready for that transition in business, be it to another generation or to through a merger and acquisition and a sale. And Mary put together a virtual networking session that I was part of, and there were about 6 of us, I guess, on there. It was very productive. People were dying for the connectivity and dying for the connectedness now.
Especially with some people still working at home and maybe through the end of the year. So we talked about the mindset and commitment last week. Now we want to really get into the messaging and the actual execution. I said last week I oftentimes joke with salespeople because that's scripting. What should I be saying? Let's look for the magic bullet, the perfect phrase, the perfect email. I get that often, and I usually joke back, let's just do it, and we can evolve from there. Not necessarily the response that the salespeople want, since they want the answer, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. Let's not let the script stand in the way of actually doing it. Once we get over maybe the fear, the lack of intentionality, not prioritizing, getting more time back in our day through delegating, whatever it may be that's stopping us, let's do it first. But let's actually start talking about the messaging. I'm sure a lot of people are curious about that.
Yeah, and what Matt's describing there is something we've all heard, right? Pursuit of perfection is the enemy of action. And the longer we rationalize, well, my script's not ready, and I'm still working on my scripting, and I'm still working on the message. It's excuses, right? Like Matt said, just do it. Just do it. Not to borrow a phrase from a shoe company, but super duper, as A.L. Williams used to say, just do it. And just do something. Right? Just do something. Don't pursue that perfection and become paralyzed by that pursuit of perfection. So we like to use the language of we and us versus me and I, right? So us and me versus I and me. And the more we talk about us and we help people in your industry that look like you. We work with organizations that are in the oil and gas industry and are looking for efficiencies in their network, or as precise as we can get with something that lets people know we have experience with them, because that experience conveys expertise. So the language of us and we, not me. And we have to be mindful of giving somebody value, right? Talking about real value in the conversation, whether it's a voicemail introduction call or even any of our in-person sales calls or on the phone sales calls or Zoom calls now, as we're all living by. But Matt, let's role play about a value prop, what a value prop might sound like, because
Sure.
oftentimes our folks we work with struggle with value props and trying to convey who we are and who we work with. So
Ring.
Hey Matt, Bill Tellerico, hoping I could talk to you a little bit about your business and how you guys are working on blank.
Okay.
So let me tell you a little bit about our organization. We have offices in 4 cities. And
So what? I only have a business in Pittsburgh.
We have over 600 professionals.
So what? So I'm never going to speak to you again?
We all have like 35 years of experience or more in our industry.
So what? Is everyone old?
We're an industry leader.
So what? Has anybody ever called me and said we're an industry laggard?
Yeah, well, maybe we won't go down that path then anymore. So Matt didn't allow my value messaging to go on too well. Why? Because that was all language about me. I didn't say anything about him, right? That was all language about us. We have offices in 4 cities. Who cares? We have 600 professionals. Who cares? Am I working with you or someone else? We all have 35 years of experience or more. So everyone's old and doesn't know how to use an iPhone. No offense to everybody, because I'm in that category, by the way. I'm coming up on 30 years of experience.
Yes, you are.
Astonishing to me that I'm now one of the old guys. I've made a switch in my career recently where now I'm more meetings I go into, I'm the oldest guy in the room versus one of the youngest guys in the room, and that's a wake-up call. So
what was that last year when you put your reading glasses on?
I had reading. My wife, Susie, bought me reading glasses last year for Christmas because I need them. And I brought them into the office over Christmas break, and I put them on. And I always have my glasses at the end of my nose. And Matt looked at me and said, "My God, do you look old?" And I said, "Matt, we're going to work on your soft skills a little bit." So.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, right. So again, the value props can't be about just our resume, our list of our list of attributes. It has to be about what we do. So rather than saying we have 4 offices in 4 cities and 600 professionals, and let's just talk about the impact we have on people, right? We have impact on our clients. Our clients would tell you that, right? We love using that type of language. It's that client reference story. So oftentimes we like to phrase what we do from a place of impact by saying, well, our clients would tell you that blank, or this organization would tell you blank. We had an opportunity to work with Macero Corporation here in Pittsburgh a few years back, and it's very easy for us to tell a story and say, well, if you called Steve Macero, he would tell you that before we started working with them, they had a close rate of X, and afterwards we were able to help them increase that close rate to Y. So those are client reference stories that are much more powerful than saying, we help our clients grow. Okay, says who? So the language of us and we, the language of impact versus just listing off attributes.
And I really think without having the ability to everyone listening to go in there and create a script for them, I think what we have to keep in mind is less is more usually. The quicker that we can gain conversation, the better. Open-ended questions are our friend. Can you tell me about? Help me understand how you're navigating. Questions like that are awesome, are perfect. So introduce yourself. One thing I wanted to talk about, do you use, am I catching you at a bad time? There's
every time. I use that every time I make a phone call,
Yeah.
whether it's a prospecting call, whether I call a client, whoever. Wherever I'm calling, I ask, am I catching you at a bad time?
Why though?
Well, it begins an engagement, right? Because number one, it begins engagement. So nobody wants to pick up the phone and just be talked at. So it helps people convey back. So, and what Matt means by that is when someone picks up the phone and they say hello, I'll always say, you know, if I'm calling our accountant, if I'm calling whoever, whenever I call George Adams, who's our accountant at Schneider Downs, I'll call and say, hey, George, Bill Tellerico, am I catching you a bad time? And George will inevitably say, no, what's up? Now, there are people that we call and we catch at bad times. And we want to give them the courtesy of being able to share that with us. That's why I like, so if I call somebody and I say, hey, am I catching you at a bad time? And they say, yeah, Bill, actually, I'm stepping into a meeting. What's up? I say, don't worry about it. I had to bounce a question off you. Can you give me a call when you get out? Or can I give you a call later today? And they will always take that courtesy with gratitude. They always say, yeah, absolutely. You know what? I'm free after 3.
Well, it's respect for their time. And
Absolutely.
it goes back to selling is for someone, not to someone. Even when
when it's inconvenient for
Yeah.
us, right? You know,
Yep.
and they have time because, you know, too often we take as salespeople our quota into the situation or our needs into the situation. And we always say, you know, our quota is not their problem. So when we need to get somebody on the phone just because it's important to us and urgent to us, doesn't mean it's important and urgent to them right now. So we have to be mindful of that. And we get over that by having pipelines.
And I think, am I catching you at a bad time? Talking about the respect, but you know, we've all read different books and we've seen different stuff on the internet, and some of it feels manipulative. And we are never going to manipulate someone into a sale. It's always going to fail. Right. And so if we start off with a cold call, if we start off with a call with something manipulative, something quick, trying to get them to say yes to a meeting quickly, whatever it may be, we're just not big fans of that, and we don't believe in it. And then also, you know, when we're asking open-ended questions, it's critical to give them time to answer. And if you're anything like me, when I started cold calling right out of college, I remember
And I was with him at this time because
Yeah.
I actually hired Matt at his first job and was fortunate enough to train him and mentoring him for a little bit.
So first week on the job, I get this big book of lists, basically. And didn't necessarily know what to do, didn't have previous experience. He didn't give me the cold calling consulting yet. It was too early, and they said, go get it. So I remember sitting there and I'm asking for appointments. Warm leads, mind you. I don't even think they were net new. And I remember asking a question, asking for the appointment. There'd be a little bit of silence, and I would fill in the blanks for them. Do you think it makes sense that we meet? But it's okay if you're really busy because we don't have to.
And how long was that pause you had there? Like half a second, right?
I don't even know if I paused.
It's that silence can be so scary.
Yeah, so having silence and embracing silence is really critical, especially if we're going to go down the path of catching you at a bad time, introduction, high impact question, right? For them, open-ended usually, and then embrace silence, because without silence, you're not going to get anywhere.
Evan, looks like you had something you wanted to share with us.
Yeah, we got a couple people in the chat. Jesse Gary said, I love that. I think she's referencing saying, am I catching you at a bad time when you first call? I think it makes them pause, and they will sincerely appreciate it. It's personal, and they will take our call next time.
Yeah, and I think, Jesse, you're right. By showing that care and concern and that genuine interest in the other, it goes a long way to start building rapport, because it helps them understand that this is more about them than it is about you.
Mm-hmm.
So. And Evan, was there anything else? I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
No worries. We also have Chris Natali, and he's just saying, great job, guys. So we appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for watching.
And speaking of Jesse, talking to Doug, they work together. I called him yesterday, and he said, hey, can I have 5 minutes? So it's real life, and let's be you don't be disingenuous when you say that. Truly mean it. Am I catching you at a bad time, and respect it?
Yeah, and it's good for them, and it's good for us, because we want to have meaningful conversations. We don't want to talk at people that aren't interested, that are just waiting for us to breathe so they can tell us now's a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So engaging them early with that.
So we talked a little bit about messaging, open-ended questions. Less is usually more, embracing silence, having a impact question, high impact, a call to action, especially if it's an email. Yeah. I think oftentimes when we're leaving voicemails and emails, we rely on multiple paragraphs, and then at the end, our high impact statement is, let me know if you need anything. I'm here to help. When's the last time someone took you up on anything?
We were talking about that last week, even on the referrals, right? And how we asked for them too late. But we need to have those statements earlier. Call to actions, clear call to actions in our voicemails and our emails, more about, hey, I need to talk to you for 15 minutes to understand if we can help you. Let me know a time that works. And by the way, if you have a calendar inviting app, include it. You know, we have links to our calendar that people can schedule directly with us. I'm okay putting those in and say, for your convenience, or if you find it more convenient, please feel free to access my calendar at this link. But don't impose that on people, because that's not always indicating that you're ready to serve when you go to them and make it self-service, right? Here, if you want to meet with me, schedule time here. So, and Evan, it looks like Chris is back and said sometimes he uses, do you have a minute? Is that okay? I want you to do what works for you, Chris. You know, embrace what you like, and embrace what feels natural and comfortable for you. We're big fans of, am I catching you at a bad time? Because that negative, people are less likely, I think, to say no to that negative. You know, do you have a minute is, you know, versus am I catching you at a bad time? That just feels more natural to me. But, you know, and anything that works for you is good. So if you're comfortable with that, I encourage you to go ahead and run with that. Mm-hmm. And Matt, we're getting a little long here today, probably because I like to ramble and talk too much. A couple things we want to make sure we got into today's session for everybody is making sure, as Matt said, first of all, embrace that silence. Don't rush through it. Let them have a minute or so. You know, actually, 3 seconds is plenty of time to let that gap go. Inside of 3 seconds, most people are going to want to fill it. And don't oversell. Once somebody says yes, because remember, what's our goal on most of our prospecting, networking phone calls? It's to get a meeting, to either whether another call, an in-person meeting that we could schedule for April of 2022, the rate we're going, or you know, a Zoom meeting, whatever. We're trying to schedule a meeting. So once we get that, don't keep selling. Stop answering any unasked questions. Stop thinking we need to tell them more about our value. The time will come for that. We met today's goal. Today's goal in that call is to set another call, to set another clear next step. Once that's done, we move on.
And I think that's really important too from a messaging perspective, because oftentimes I see a lot of salespeople that try to have the meeting over an email or in a voicemail. And so I think that's going back to the mindset of what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to move the ball forward, and we're trying to get another meeting. And when we do get that meeting, as I'm sure all of you know and hear a lot of, clear next steps, specific time-bound, show up on two people's calendars, obviously. And we were talking about some great questions as well. You know, what's one thing that you think we're going to focus on?
Yeah, that's
at the
like
meeting.
the only thing. Instead of overselling, that's a value question that Matt mentioned, right? And when we're setting that meeting, if it's for next Thursday, say, hey, Tom, just so I could properly prepare, what do you think's the one thing we should be focused on in our time together? What's the one thing that's going to probably be most important to you in our time together? Whatever it is, so that we start getting some of that feedback about why they want the meeting, what's important to them, and so that we can properly prepare.
And one other one thing question, and I know we're running over, is if we don't get a meeting and we have another clear next step, some point in time, next month, next quarter, having another call, still trying to get the meeting. I think a great question is, what's one thing that looks like help to you in between today and when we have that next call?
Yeah. See, Matt says things and that makes me come up with another idea. But oftentimes when we talk to people and they give us the stiff arm and they go, oh, yeah, I'd love to talk to you in the first quarter of next year. I'd love to talk to you in the second quarter of next year. Please, please, please don't use manipulation like, oh, I thought you were interested in growing your business, or some type of snarky remark that's a challenge back, right? Not our style. Hopefully it's not yours. What's much better for us to ask is an honest business question at that moment, and that is, what's changing in your business between now and then that's going to make that more timely for us, right? And ask it with sincerity. So, and if they say nothing, say, oh, okay. And they might say to you, you know what, I really don't ever want to talk to you again. That's fine, right? It's okay to get to the no. But let's ask them with sincerity, what's changing in your business between now and the second quarter of next year that's going to make talking then more timely. So, all right, we're going late. We promised you we would talk about referrals today. We didn't lie. I just talked too much. So we'll make sure that we talk about referrals next week. So, Evan, there you go. You have something to start promoting with. Next week's Breakfast with Bill will focus on referrals from the start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to bring up one more thing. Small detail we didn't cover today. Maybe people haven't noticed, but you're both wearing pink ties today. What was the reasoning for that?
How about that? Yeah, so month of October. Thanks for reminding us, Evan. It is October. We have a lot of women in our lives that we love and adore and cherish, and we would encourage you guys to support breast cancer awareness this month. And if you're so inclined, support it with a financial donation. There are many people that through this month participate in the Real Men Wear Pink contest, right? I know last year our friend Steve Barber, by the way, Schneider Downs, this is our third mention of Schneider Downs today. We actually have more friends and clients than just those at Schneider Downs, but it seems like this is the Schneider Downs show today. Our friend Steve Barber last year was one of the top fundraisers nationally for the Real Men Wear Pink contest as he supported his sister in her challenge. So, just a small reminder of get checked, be mindful, and support those women that we love in their battle to cure this horrible disease. We're wearing pink today, just ties, but I had a pink shirt on yesterday, but Evan didn't catch that. So we'll probably be doing this throughout the month. So in the weeks ahead, you'll see us in pink ties again. I'm hoping Matt could get a pink suit. But so
Maybe.
Thanks for your time. Running late. Appreciate you guys being with us. Have a great week. God bless, and we'll see you next week to talk about referrals.